Lately, I have been reading the most amazing book. It's called Colfax and Fowler, The Best in English Country Decoration, and it's by Chester Jones. It was published in 1989, so we are giving a party pretty soon. And so I was inspired to try out some of their ideas for putting a room together to try to get as much seating in my living room as possible because I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of people. In his book, he says that that's actually one of their goals with putting a room, like a sitting room together, is to have as much seating as possible in any given space, but have it look informal, like lived in and comfortable, and not like it's so fancy and stiff that you're afraid to sit down. I love country style. I love English country style, French country style, Swedish country style the most, and of all the country styles there are out there, I guess. There's also like American country style or Italian country style, and they each have their own special sort of characteristics. And the house I live in seems to lend itself the best to English country style, so I've been focusing more and more on that. And I guess Colfax and Fowler, I didn't know this, but they're a very old English decorating firm. They were founded by John Fowler, and they pretty much invented what most of us would kind of identify as English country style, like using big flowered fabrics like chintzes and toiles. When they started doing that, that was really revolutionary, I guess. Like everyone was decorating really formally with silk, damask, and things like that in these big old country houses. And John Fowler came along sort of during and after World War II and loosened that up. And he was the master of like mixing sort of really fancy pieces with less fancy pieces, high low. And their specialty still to this day in the firm is that mellow, layered, over time country house look. So this book has been really inspiring to me, and they decorate for, I mean, I think they've decorated for the royal family. They're way up there, and I'm sure that everything they do is very, very the finest of the fine. But this book he just lays out so clearly their strategies, and the ideas behind what they do are applicable, even if, of course, like I'm not using fabrics that are thousands of dollars a yard or hundreds or whatever, but the ideas are really applicable. And the guy who wrote it, Chester Jones, is really clear in explaining them. So it's one of the best decorating books I've ever read. I'm really, really enjoying it. And so with that in mind, I spent some time sort of moving chairs, playing musical chairs in my house, running around up and down, and that I did manage to add some extra chairs to my living room. One of their ideas is to have groupings where 2 to 3 people can sit and talk instead of one larger group of seating, which I already have in my living room. Like, for example, here's my main grouping. I've got this really long couch with 2 chairs. So that, even with a 4-seater couch, no more than 3 people are really going to sit there. So that's really like a group for 5 people. And then I have some other groupings around that could probably fit 2 to 4. I was really inspired by their use of chintz, and this chair we bought at IKEA many years ago. It's on its 3rd slipcover or 4th, and it is a chintz fabric, and I think it actually was inspired by English country houses, if I recall correctly. And it's been in our red room forever, but it's not really fitting in there anymore since we got the L-shaped couch. So I decided to move it in here, and I think their idea that I found the most inspiring was they said one of the first things they do in a room, if it has a fireplace, which this room does, is they'll put a chair facing into the body of the room on either side of the fireplace. And they say a lot of times theirs will be just like a hard, small chair just because of space, but people will naturally gravitate towards those chairs because it's like by the focal point of the room, and so it feels like a good cozy place to sit. And I tried some hard small chairs there, but it ended up working out better to have some softer ones. Put this chair on the other side of the fireplace. It's not the most comfortable chair, but I like it for a lot of reasons. One is I didn't feel so bad because, like they said, it's like a great place to sit, so people will sit there even if it's not like the most comfortable chair. And then 2, since it's kind of a mid-century modern look, I think that it breaks up some of the formality of this room, and I like to mix. It works for some reason for me to mix that. I think it works. I really like how the chintz chair looks in here and how you can sit there and talk to the people on the chintz covered little settee as well. Whereas before, there wasn't a conversational grouping on that side. So that could be like a 2 to 3 person grouping right there. Or you could turn to the other side of the little settee and there's another grouping over there. So you could be on the settee and talk to the people in the 2 wingback chairs on the other side. So you've kind of got some options there that you didn't have before, all because of adding this chintz chair in the living room. I never imagined I would do that. Loving the country house feel that this chair gives to the room. It's making me really, really happy. There's 2 chairs over on the other side of it, so that could be a 2 to 4 person conversation grouping as well on either side. And so I've added like a whole other chair. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seats that we've got. Plus we could always use the piano bench in a pinch. So 13, 14, and also the ottoman of another chair for 15. So this room could comfortably sit 15 for a large party. And I feel pretty pleased about that. After taking their suggestions, this is how it all turned out. So I have an ottoman in here, which is something they recommend to be extra seating. I have a round table with a tablecloth, which is something they recommend to kind of break up the legginess of tables. So it contrasts with, they like to have a variety of side tables, but they get really leggy, so then they like to put some with a tablecloth. I've added seating with this chintz chair and also made it very English country. I'm just walking to make sure there's still enough space to walk in between everything, and it's looking like there's still enough space, like 2 feet in between. Here's this chair facing into the room that could be sort of pulled up in a conversational grouping, and then the piano, and then of course we can always grab the piano bench if need be. I've got my main grouping with the sofa and the 2 chairs as like the focal point by the fireplace, and then we've got this settee which you could turn and talk to the people in this little grouping of these 2 wingbacks with the round table there, and then you could turn if you were on the settee and talk to the person in the chintz flowered chair over there. And also the chintz chair can reach and set a drink on that side table, as can the people at the settee. So that's another great rule of thumb that I've read in this book, but also in other places too. Just make sure everyone has a place to set their drink down. So I think that all the seating in this room, there is a place to set your drinks and snacks, which is great. So my big revelation was to add 1 chair on either side of the focal point of my room, which is my fireplace. 1 chair on either side facing into the room. And I'm so excited about the difference this made with the seating arrangements. What about you? Do you have a focal point in your living room or family room? Is it a fireplace or something else? I want to encourage you to try to find your focal point and put a chair on either side of the focal point facing into the room and whatever other groupings that you have going on in the room. My chairs ended up being kind of softer and more comfortable, but like they suggested in the Colfax and Fowler book by Chester Jones, they could also be smaller chairs that fit the space, and people will naturally gravitate to sit there just because it is near the focal point of the room and they won't feel, quote, hard done by, as they say in the book, because the chairs are small and little. So I thought that was such an interesting tip, and I'm really excited to see how it works out at my party to have these extra chairs in here and change up the seating groupings a little bit. I'm going to be studying to see what people do, how they clump off or group off or pair off in this room. It never goes quite how I expected, and every time we have guests, I do kind of study it and watch it and see what people do, and I'm always trying to get like the optimal arrangement in here. But I do love this idea of, you're sort of deliberately putting these groupings together, sort of suggesting to people, oh, you could sit here and talk to 2 people, you could sit here and talk to 4 people, but none of it looks very formal or studied. It hopefully looks cozy and lived in and not intimidating. Certainly not at my house for sure. I'm not using, thousands of dollars worth of fabric or whatever, but just striving after that layered, lived in, layered over time country house, lots of patterns, lots of florals, chintz, toile, mix of styles of tables, mix of styles of furniture. So the house just has this look like it's been there forever and you've collected things, and over time your look has just evolved. You've got some hand-me-downs, some antiques, some things that might be new. So I guess that's the goal, is for that cozy, comfortable look. And then also you want your seating groupings to be such that people feel good coming into your room. So hopefully I'm striving ever after that goal, and I think this book has just gotten me a little bit closer. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what kind of country style you find yourself loving the best. Is it English country style or another one? And how you might use a focal point in your living room. Any other suggestions or ideas? I'd love to hear about conversational groupings in your house and how you handle all that, or how you handle the mix of furniture. And I will look forward to reading all of your comments down below. Leave them for me down below, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.